Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my end of ORAS OU report cards. Now we are on episode 4 and we left off with Manaphy last time, so we will hop right into the countdown. We continue off with Mega-Manectric. Now Mega-Manectric is an electric type. It has base 70 HP, 75 attack, 80 defense, 135 special attack, 80 special defense, and 135 speed. So what makes this thing pretty special is that speed and special attack stat. Excuse me. Mega-Manectric is actually a pretty threatening Mega. With the Intimidate ability after Mega Evolution, it actually can take some hits, such as resisted hits at least. Like a Bullet Punch is really not going to be doing anything anymore, especially after Intimidate, and just things like that. So it's kind of a safe switch into something like a Scizor, as long as you know they're not going to be U-turning on out crazily or blasting you with the superpower. So pretty interesting Mega though. It's kind of one-dimensional, I would say. There's really one set, and that's usually Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, or Overheat. Most people run Flamethrower though, and Hidden Power Ice, and the very occasional Hidden Power Grass Mega-Manectrics, but for the most part it is usually Hidden Power Ice, just to be able to beat Garchomp one-on-one and land OT on the switch. So pretty cool Pokemon, honestly. It has great speed, like I said. That's the pros of it. The coverage is almost perfect, I think. I don't know what can switch in on it as long as you have those 4 moves. They can really tear up OU, to be honest. So if you play smart with this thing and you know what you're doing, Mega-Manectric can be a huge problem for your opponent. It also has good power too. That 135 special attack stat is definitely something not to overlook, so you really gotta watch out for it. But yeah, the cons, like I said, it has one set, and you pretty much know what they're going to move or pick every single time. So say you have Heatran, you could switch in and get that Flash Fire boost because you know they're gonna Flamethrower you or Ferrothorn or something like that. So just it is pretty predictable. Very frail for Mega too, so this thing obviously can't eat EQs or anything like that. Even a good old Moonblast from, I don't know, Clef is probably still doing at least 40% to you. So it just kind of, you really got to be smart with it and not let it take any hits. So that is why I gave it a B+. I think it deserved a B+, because obviously it's not a B. It's a very fast, hard-hitting mon, and I don't think it's quite at the A level yet. So that's Mega-Manectric. Now the next Pokemon is, I believe, it's Mega-Medicham. So Mega-Medicham, this thing is crazy strong. It has a fighting and psychic typing, so obviously it's not being hit super effectively by Dark, which is pretty nice. It is still neutral, but oh well. This thing has base 60 HP, 100 attack, 85 defense, 80 special attack, 85 defense, and 100 speed. Now, this thing is incredibly strong, like I said, guys. This thing has very good stab attacks, too. High jump kick is ridiculous, but what makes this thing special is its pure power ability. Now, if you'll notice, it has 100 base attack, like I just said. Now, what pure power does is it doubles this Pokemon's attack. So it has a base attack stat of 200. Now, I don't think there's anything more powerful than that in the game. I'm actually going to double check here right now on Showdown, just because I'm actually curious. So I don't think there is anything. No, Mega Mewtwo X has 190 base attack. So with the pure power ability, Mega-Medicham is the strongest thing in the metagame. It actually is stronger by 10 points too, which is a decent amount. So crazy power with this thing. It is one of the best wall breakers in OU. It rips through stall as long as they don't have something like Mega Sableye. Mega Sableye is a hard counter. But yeah, this thing is crazy good, guys. But it has some weaknesses as well. So I would say the pros of it is the pure power, 200 base attack, like I just mentioned. Strong stab, so Zen Headbutt is pretty decent, but what I'm really getting at is the high jump kick, which is a base 130 power move. So with the pure power on top of the high jump kick, that is stab, same type attack bonus if you guys didn't know. That is ridiculous. That is wall breaking capabilities written all over it. So and also gets a good priority too. It gets access to Fake Out and Bullet Punch, which is pretty cool. Bullet Punch is nice for those fairies that want to come in too. So very good Pokemon in my opinion. The cons of it though is not very fast. It does get outsped or outsped by most things in OU. There's a lot of fast threats in OU, so 100 base speed is almost average in OU, so it has a little bit above average speed, so not great, but definitely not slow by any means. But yeah, and it is also pretty frail for Mega. You definitely don't want to be taking hits with this thing. The decent thing about it is it does only take 6% on switching to Stealth Rock, so that's kind of a plus. But other than that, you definitely don't want to be really taking any hits with this thing. It's really just to dish out hits when you need it. So it's good with a Volt Turn team whenever you can bring it in as much as possible. So that's Mega-Medicham pretty much. I think it deserved an A- just because it's so powerful and it's really hard to play around it, especially if your counters go down to it. If you have no switch into high jump kick, you might just click X if you don't have anything to outspeed it either. So really cool Pokemon. Now the next one is, I think, Mega-Metagross. Now Mega-Metagross is one of my favorite Megas. This thing's so good. It's packing the Steel and Psychic typing. The main reason I would say it's probably one of my favorite Mega Pokemon is just because it has such great natural bulk. On top of it, it's pretty quick and it has a massive attack stat. So it's a great Pokemon overall. It has very good coverage options as well. I don't know if you're familiar with league play, but in most leagues this thing is banned because of how good it is. So Mega-Metagross, usually not really a common Mega you see on the OU ladder. It's still pretty good though, but it's not one of the more popular ones. But yeah, this thing is definitely a threat nonetheless. So it has base 80 HP, 145 attack, 150 defense, 105 special attack, 110 special defense, and 110 speed. So this thing definitely is well rounded. You could even run special attacking sets if you really wanted to. I don't recommend it, but it's definitely not out of the question with 105 base special attack. So, but this thing is incredibly good. The only drawback from it, I believe, is probably its speed before Mega Evolution, and I would say maybe its typing. The typing does reveal a lot of weaknesses, but it also is useful. So it like quad resists Psychic. It obviously resists Steel, and it's just useful in so many different ways. I think this thing is very good. It has access to things like Hammer Arm, Elemental Punches, I think all of them except Fire Punch. I think it gets, well, obviously it gets Zen Headbutt, it gets Bullet Punch, so that's Stab, that's pretty nice. And then Meteor Mash is just a really nice stab move to click, and it also has a chance to raise your attack. So there's a couple different sets you can really run. I want to point out the Hone Claw set, that's not a bad one. Or even Rock Polish. The Rock Polish Mega-Metagross is pretty threatening too. So really gotta watch out for that and really play around it safely because this thing can actually sweep you if you're not prepared. Now, I would say the pros of this Pokemon are it is very strong. 145 base attack is pretty strong, guys. Paired with the speed, it makes it really threatening. This thing, like I said earlier, it has natural bulk, 150 base defense, and even 110 base special defense. So you can play around with your EVs and your HP, and you can really make this thing a tank. So Mega-Metagross, very good. And also, after Mega Evolution, it gets Tough Claws, so that means all of its contact moves are boosted by 1.5 damage. So this thing is insanely strong and definitely a huge threat. Now, like I said earlier, the cons of it is it's pretty slow before Mega Evolution. I want to say it tops out at 262 or 263 before Mega Evolution, so that's kind of a problem. You gotta find a good opportunity to get off your Mega. If you want to lead with it, you can do that as well. So it's kind of like a Mega Diancie in the sense. It's pretty slow before Mega Evolution, and after Mega Evolution, it gets 110 speed. So that's just my take on it. And also, like I said, the typing, it kind of gives it multiple weaknesses, such as like Fire, Dark, and Ground. So, and those are all pretty common in OU. So. I thought it did deserve a final grade of A though. This thing's pretty underrated in my opinion. This thing definitely needs to be looked at more. So if you're new to the game and you want to try out a Mega, you really can't go wrong with Mega-Metagross. It's going to help you out a lot. So the next Pokemon is the Mew. Now Mew is crazy good, guys. Mew is Gen 1 Pokemon, obviously, packing that Psychic type, Mono Psychic type too. It has base 100 stats all across the board, and what makes this thing good, guys, is it gets almost every single move in the game. It's nothing like a Smeargle, so obviously Smeargle, I think it gets every move in the game. If not, it's pretty close to every move in the game. But this thing is pretty much second to Smeargle in how many moves it gets. This thing gets things you would never think of, like, I don't know, Seed Bomb, it gets Zap Cannon, it gets pretty much, here, I'll just go down to this thing real quick on Showdown, and pretty much, yeah, I'll just, like, Aqua Tail, it just gets crazy moves, and it gets good cover utility moves too, which makes it very hard to play against. So again, in league format, this thing is crazy good, but on the OU ladder, it's a little bit different. It even gets Dunk Shot, Outrage, yeah, it's just almost anything you want to throw on that you can. Scald, obviously Stealth Rock too, setup moves, U-turn, Volt Switch. It's just so good, guys. U is just definitely something, it's kind of hard to know what set your opponent's running. There is a standard set that most people run, and that is the specially defensive set with Knockoff, Will-O-Wisp, Defog, and Roost, or Soft Boiled actually. Just because that set's actually pretty tough to break down. Mew is very bulky, especially if you play around with the EVs, and it's actually decently fast too. So it's usually outspeeding those bulkier stall type Pokemons to knock it off or burn it or do whatever you want to it. So really good defog user. So it's kind of hard to play around, but I would say the pros of it are insane coverage. You can run almost any set you want. You could run Nasty Plot, you could run Swords Dance, you could run Sub, Bulk Up, take your pick, and you can run whatever you want with the Mew. Great utility, like I said earlier, Defog, Stealth Rock, Thunder Wave, obviously Toxic, Will-O-Wisp, that's just to name a few, and it gets Revive or Recovery and something like Roost or Soft Boiled. It also gets like Cleric options. I don't know if it gets Wish, I will double check, but I know for a fact it does get, yeah, it does not get Wish, I don't think, but it does get Heal Bell. So if your mons are toxic or poisoned or burned, you can just use Heal Bell. So this thing is just crazy versatile, so there's really not much you can do for it other than have a quality dark type on your team to really counteract this. But in that case, they could still run things like Drain Punch and Aurora Sphere and Focus Blast, so you gotta watch out for it. But yeah, pros of it: insane coverage, great utility, and good stats. So this thing's good stats all across the board. Cons: Mono-Psychic type equals multiple weaknesses such as Bug, Dark. What else is there? I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure there's more, but I just can't think of any. But anyway, and it has a decent ability, but it's not the greatest. If Mew had a better ability, or at least a couple different options for its ability, this thing would be even better. So, Synchronized, decent. If you guys don't know what Synchronized is, if Mew gets burned by the opponent, or by any other thing, then the opponent also gets burned. So, say Rotom-Wash burns my Mew, that Rotom-Wash also gets burned. So, I think it deserved a B+. You don't really see Mew that too often in the OU metagame, just because it's not something you really want to run on a stall team or a hyper offense team. So it kind of just falls in the middle with balance, and there's almost just better options in balance. So I feel like it just kind of gets kicked out a little bit, but it definitely is an OU mon, and it definitely needs to stay there. Yeah, that's why I think it deserved a B+. So the next Pokemon we have is Mega-Pinsir. Now Mega-Pinsir is a very strong mon as well. This thing is a bug and flying type. Obviously, Stealth Rocks destroy this thing. But anyway, base 65 HP, base 155 attack, 120 defense, 65 special attack, 90 special defense, and 105 speed. So Mega-Pinsir is a huge threat in OU. That 105 speed allows it to outspeed things like Garchomp at 102, or things like Mew and Jirachi at 100. So it's definitely something you have to watch out for, and it has access to set up, and once it sets up a Sword Stance, this thing can easily sweep you. I'm pretty sure a +2 quick attack will OHKO Mega Lopunny, OHKO Mega-Medicham, OHKO pretty much any fighting type, I would assume. I don't know about Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr's pretty bulky, but yeah, but you have return for that, so it's not really a problem. It outspeeds most things. But yeah, this thing's crazy strong. After Mega Evolution, it gets an ability called Aerialate, and Aerialate boosts your normal type attacks by 1.3 and makes them flying, so they actually go stab with the boost already. So with that 155 attack stat, this thing is tough to bring down. And not to mention, it actually has a decent defense stat. 120 is definitely something to look at, and 90 isn't that bad. Its HP stat isn't great, obviously, but you can really play around with the 120 defense, so that's pretty cool. Pros of this thing: it's very strong. It has stab, priority, and quick attack. It also gets feint too. If you guys don't know what feint is, say somebody has a Talonflame in on me and it's pretty weak, such as like maybe 10% on it after Stealth Rocks or something like that, and he has Brave Bird with Gale Wing, so obviously he will outspeed me. But if you pack the feint, it has +2 priority over Brave Bird's +1, and you'll be able to knock it out with the feint because you will go first. So some people run that set over quick attack. I don't necessarily, but it's up to you pretty much, personal preference. But anyway, yeah, like I said, very strong. The cons of it though are it is 4 times weak to rock. Stealth Rocks are just tear this thing apart. It's 50% every time it comes in, just like a Talonflame, and it just really wears it down. So that's the only really bad con to this thing. I would say the other option is it is worn down pretty quick. Things like Tank Chomp kind of like to switch in on this thing and make it take a lot of damage, and I guess other things like Ferrothorn to an extent, but they definitely don't want to be taking attacks. Another reason why Mega-Pinsir is pretty good is it also gets coverage in Earthquake and Close Combat, and that deals with all these steel types that want to come in on Mega-Pinsir too while it's flying stabs. So you get an SD with this thing, and it can easily sweep. So that's why I think it deserved an A-. It just gets worn down pretty fast, and those Stealth Rocks are just awful. So really gotta watch out for that. What is it? Passive damage, I think that's what it's called, in the OU tier. So next Pokemon is Quagsire. Now Quagsire, I'm not a fan of this Pokemon, guys. I'll just tell you straight up. This thing is a water and ground type, so obviously it's 4 times weak to grass, and it's packing 95 base HP, 85 attack, 85 defense, 65 special attack, 65 special defense, and 35 speed. Now, if you look at Quagsire, you probably don't recognize this thing as an OU Mon because it just got moved up, unless you are a good OU, or not a good OU player, a normal OU player where you've been playing regularly. This thing recently got moved up, and I want to say February or March that it got moved up along with Amoonguss because Stall was so prevalent in the lower tiers that Smogon wanted to move it up. So I agree with the move, honestly, but Quagsire is definitely not an OU Mon in my opinion. I just like how they got rid of the Stall in the lower tiers. That's what I agree with. So Quagsire used for one thing and one thing only, and that's its Unaware ability. Now the only other Unaware Pokemon in the game is Clefable, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know which one would be a better Unaware user. I would probably say Quagsire is just barely. This thing's really tough to break down, especially if you don't have a grass type attack. But this thing is so one-dimensional, it's crazy. It's Scald, Earthquake, Recover, and Toxic, almost every set. If you are not Scald, you're running Waterfall and some weird curse set with this thing, which isn't good. I think this thing gets Curse, I'm not too sure. Maybe I'm just thinking of Gastro. But I know one of those two get Curse, and Unaware is just, it's just, okay, if you guys don't know what Unaware is, say I set up a Swords Dance and I hit him, my Swords Dance attack will be doing just as normal as my non-Swords Dance attack, so it doesn't care how much you set up. So that's why you really want to run a grass type move on every team. It's just better off that way. That way you can hit things like this, like the Gastrodon, like I just said, and Seismitoad, things like that, and Swampert, not to mention. So yeah, you definitely want to have at least one grass type attack on your team in OU, just because you don't want to get walled by things like this, and they can really toxic stall you and become really annoying with the access to recover as well. So this thing's crazy bulky though if you play with the EVs, and it's kind of tough to bring down. So but like I said, the cons are it's 4 times weak to grass, it has horrible coverage. This thing, the coverage options are really bad. It's pretty much just Scald or Earthquake, or I don't even know if it gets Earth Power, but anyway, it's very slow as well. I guess it doesn't really need the speed, but it's still slow nevertheless. and super one-dimensional, guys. It is only ran on stall teams. This thing doesn't really fit on balance or hyper offense, obviously, so it's really only ran on stall, so you don't really see it too much unless you are playing stall. So that's why I think this thing deserved a C, and something like Chansey, which is usually on stall, deserves higher, just because you can actually use Chansey in offense for some reason. I hate playing Chansey offense, but anyway, it still works. So this thing deserved a C in my opinion. What it does well. I will give it that, but it is so one-dimensional, and one grass type attack can easily knock this thing out. So yeah, that's why I think it deserved a C. Next Pokemon we have is Raikou. Now, Raikou is definitely a different Pokemon from Quagsire. This thing is a mono-electric typing, and it is one of the 3 legendary dogs off Gen 2, paired with Suicune and Entei. But obviously those 2 are in UU, so we won't be seeing those. Raikou now has the 90 base HP, 85 attacks, 75 defense, 115 special attack, 100 special defense, and 115 speed. So 115 speed is pretty fast in OU. It is one of the top tiers. I'm pretty sure its speed ties with things like Starmie. Starmie might be 120. Maybe I'm just wrong. Hang on, I will double check for you guys. Yeah, it speed ties with Starmie, like I said. It tops out at 115. Now, Raikou is pretty cool though, just because of the fact it can be ran in just a couple different ways, and each way is just a little bit different to fit your team. So, I usually see Raikou. It is usually sub Calm Mind. That is probably the most popular set, with things like I don't know if it's Volt Switch or is it T-Bolt. Usually you're on Volt Switch, so with Hidden Power Ice, substitute Calm Mind. So good set, honestly. You could also run Specs. I like Specs Raikou. It does rely a lot on predicting though, so some people don't like to run it. And you see the very occasional Choice Scarf Raikou. So, but yeah, those are pretty much the 3 sets. You really don't see anything else than that. And they're usually always, say if I'm, oh my bad, Assault Vest is also a set, and that thing's pretty good too. 100 base special defense is definitely nice with the Assault Vest with 90 HP, so it can actually tank some special hits pretty well. And if you are running something like the Assault Vest set, you're usually running Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, and Hidden Power Ice. And if you don't run Shadow Ball, you're running Aurora Sphere. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Pros, it's fast, Volt Switcher, probably one of the best Volt Switchers in OU. And it has pretty decent bulk, like I just said. So you pack an Assault Vest on this, and you're going to be tanking it hits pretty well. So bad things about it though are it is hard walled by sand teams so easily. Things like Tyranitar and Excadrill. Those things are definitely going to be walling you 110%. Even an Aurora Sphere is probably not going to do that much to a Tyranitar. Well, obviously it's going to do a decent amount, but it's not going to kill unless you're running maybe like modest specs and he's not running any investment. So obviously because the sand boosts his special defense. So another thing is it lacks physical bulk, so you definitely don't want to be taking Stone Edges or Earthquakes with this thing either. So gotta watch out for that. So I think its final grade did deserve a B. While it does well at most things like fast Volt Switching and things like that, you really have to play smart with this thing because it will go down relatively easily, and your opponent can kind of predict what you're going to do. All it really does is Volt Switch, and so you just got to be careful with it. So next Pokemon is Rotom-Wash. Now, Rotom-Wash is pretty good in OU in my opinion. The thing is a Water and Electric type with the ability Levitate, so it does not take ground type attacks unless you're running something like Mold Breaker. But yeah, it only has one weakness outside of Mold Breaker, and that is Grass. So pretty good for us. And it's not even quad. It's not even quad weak to Grass. It's just weak to Grass. So this thing's pretty threatening. It is packing the same HP same stats as all the other Rotoms. 50 HP, 65 attack, 107 defense, 105 special attack, and 107 special defense with 86 speed. So this thing's very good, guys. I would say the most common set is the bulky set with Volt Switch, Hydro Pump, Will-O-Wisp, and Pain Split. That is the most common set. Max with defense and HP and these EVs. And it has one weakness. That's the biggest pro about it. It also has great utility like Will-O-Wisp and Thunder Wave. Even Toxic if you really wanted to run that. And Pain Split. So that's pretty cool. Also, Volt Switch is nice. It can be run defensive or offensive too. The offensive set is not that bad either. Choice Scarf with Max special attack and speed. That's pretty fun to use. I've used it once or twice. But for the most part, you're usually running defensive as a good steel type answer or flying type answer. So very good Talonflame counter as well. So. But the cons are it does have a limited moveset. You don't really have any other options but water and electric type. I think it might get Shadow Ball, but you never run that. But in the bad HP stat, the HP stat kind of hinders it from being very bulky, but it can still tank a lot of hits. Rotom-Wash with max HP is not bad at all. So, and also does not have the best speed. So if you are running the faster set, something like Specs, you will be outsped by a lot of things, and that kind of sucks for it. But in any case, you usually don't need that speed, so it's not too big of a worry. That's why I think it deserved A-. This thing walls so many things in the OU metagame, and it's just very good pivot as well. I think it's probably the best pivot in OU. So with that Volt switching ability. So that's just Rotom-Wash in a nutshell. Next Pokemon is Mega Sableye. Now Mega Sableye is a Dark and Ghost type, which makes it very interesting as well. Just like the Rotom-Wash, it only has one weakness, and that is Fairy. Obviously, Rotom-Wash isn't weak to Fairy though. So this thing has 50 HP, 85 attack, 125 defense, 85 special attack, 115 special defense, and 20 speed. So Mega Sableye is pretty much used on most stall teams. Most stall teams love this thing because of the fact that it only has one weakness. It's immune to fighting and normal, and it has Magic Bounce. So they love it. They eat it up. So this thing is pretty good because it does get things like Knock Off, Will-O-Wisp, Recover. With the Magic Bounce ability, makes this thing kind of hard to break through unless you do have a good Fairy type or a good Wall Breaker on your team. So pretty tough to break down a Mega Sableye stall team, but yeah. Anyway, this thing's very bulky with the 2 defense stats. Even with the base 50 HP, it can still tank a lot of hits. So you're usually running, like I just said, the knockoff Will-O-Wisp set with Recover and maybe Fake Out to get your free Mega Evolution off because you do not have Magic Bounce turn 1. So that's pretty much it for the sets. You could run weird sets with maybe something like Snarl, or maybe like Calm Mind Shadow Ball, or Calm Mind Dark Pulse. I've seen the occasional Foul Play knockoff sets, so double attack. It can be ran in a couple different ways. It just kind of depending on what other Pokemon you have on your team. So the pros of it: one weakness, Magic Bounce, great utility. Will-O-Wisp and pretty much Recover is pretty much all it needs with the Magic Bounce ability. The bad thing is it is walled by fairies pretty easily, and you are never usually running anything to hit hard. So usually knockoff and Foul Play aren't going to do you too much if they start setting up something like a Nasty Plot, as long as they do resist the Dark type attacks. So that's pretty much it. It's kind of game over after they hit a Nasty Plot because you don't have Unaware with this thing. So that's why people run Chansey to partner up with Mega Sableye. So anyway, I think this thing deserved a B+. It is very good wall, but there are ways around it, and you don't necessarily have too much trouble with it if you've played this before. If you're an experienced OU player, you have probably seen Mega Sableye a couple times around the block, and you've probably dealt with it rather easily because you've gotten beat earlier. That's how I beat it. I learned from my mistakes against the Mega Sableye team, and I know what I'm doing now against it. So the very last Pokemon we have in the episode is Normal Scizor, so we'll kick off next episode with Mega Scizor. But anyway, Normal Scizor is a Bug and Steel type, base 70 HP, 130 attack, 100 defense, 55 special attack, 80 special defense, and 65 speed. Now, Scizor is such a cool Pokemon, guys. One weakness again, just like the last 2 mons. This time being fire, and it doesn't get hit by anything else super effectively at all, so that's pretty cool. And as an offensive mon with decent bulk, this thing is kind of difficult to play around. There's a couple different sets. You can kind of see Life Orb Bestie every once in a while, but that's usually not ran anymore. You can run Banded. Banded Scizor is a thing now, and it's pretty good, honestly, with the Bullet Punch. It is Technician boosted Bullet Punch, so it's base 60 power instead of 40. Now, Scizor is definitely something to use it as a late game sweeper. It's pretty good at it with that priority, the stab priority, and it hits very hard, especially if you're banded. So U-turn, bullet punch, and kind of just your choice of pursuit or superpower. Same with knockoff, and I guess you could honestly run something like quick attack if you really wanted to. But yeah, other than that, you just run a bullet punch for your priority. So that's pretty much it. I guess bug bite's another option. But yeah. One weakness is its pro, so that's pretty cool. The technician's really nice because of things like bug bite or bullet punch or pursuit. So that's pretty cool. A stab priority with bullet punch, and it's pretty strong. 130 base attack is definitely something to look at. Cons: 4 times weak to fire, so any flamethrower, HP fire, fire blast, sacred fire. This thing is going down more times than not. So. It kind of sucks in that aspect of it, but if that being its only weakness is pretty nice. So, but it is walled by multiple bulky type as well. So bulky waters can kind of come in on this thing. Bulky fires can come in on this thing. Volcanion's a great counter to Scizor, even a banded superpower. It's probably not even doing 60% if you're a very bulky set. So that's pretty nice. And I'm pretty sure most Volcanion sets outrun a Scizor. So. Just gotta watch out for it and be careful around it. So, normal Scizor, I always call it Mega, my bad. Normal Scizor, I think it deserved to be B+, just because of the fact that it's a pretty good late game sweeper. It also has access to Sword Stance, so even if you're not running banded, you can set up an SD and sweep from there. So, Scizor is definitely something you gotta watch out for and prepare for. Definitely want to have a counter to it on your team, especially if you're running something like Mega-Diancie. So. That will be the end of episode 4 of my end of ORAS OU report cards. Like I said, we'll start off with Mega Scizor next time, and I'm pretty sure it'll go from Mega Scizor. Let's double check. Mega Scizor all the way down from. Hang on a second. Mega Scizor all the way down to Volcanion, so that'll be a pretty cool episode. But yeah, that is it from me today, guys, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you think in the comment section about my ranking. I really appreciate it. I appreciate any feedback you guys have from me. And have yourself a good one, guys. See you later.